going on, guys? Today has been quite the long day. Definitely tested my mental, which is what this video is about. Today been up since 4:30, cardio, lift, computer work, grinding all day, making modules for my clients because I don't want to just fish for them. I want them to understand how to fish. Not just the basics, all the intricacies, like just projecting my brain onto them so that they can take this stuff with them for life. So I spent a lot of time on that. My brain's a little bit fried, but it made me think about the importance of your mind and how no matter how far you may progress physically, you will always be pulled back to the level in which your mindset is at. What do I mean by that? When I got knee surgery and I was pretty down in the dumps physically and I was trying to progress physically, the biggest hindrance wasn't necessarily my muscle atrophy or my scar or my range of motion, etc. Like that was all gonna develop on its own with time or get better with time. The main hindrance was actually my mind. My bad habits, my vices, my negative self-talk, and just being in this like depressed state. And it was like no matter how much momentum I was able to string up physically, getting a good workout, getting a great pump, and feeling like I'm on the right path, just kind of digging myself out of this hole, my bad habits, vices, and mindset would drag me back. Why is this? Because our bodies are simply a reflection of our mind. I like to imagine it as a mind-body mirror. One cannot ascend without the other, right? It just so happens to be that the mind is the more heavy asset, the asset that dictates the direction of both of them. So your physique may be improving, you may hit strings of progress, but if your mind is the lagging asset, it will always drag back and will always revert back to your old patterns. So if you've ever been in a position where you feel like you've strung up progress, but then immediately you just get yanked back. Like for me, a good example, whenever I would be trying to get sober, weed was something I was stuck on for a while, like daily smoking. And it's like I would string up these weeks of consistency, month of sobriety, whatever it may be, then just get yanked back. Why? Because my mind hadn't shifted yet. But what do I mean my mind hadn't shifted? It's a change in identity that needs to occur, right? I don't want to get too in the weeds, but in plain terms, identity is based on repeated evidence of action, what you do on a daily basis. If you have the same wake up time, you eat the same things, you pretty much have the same hobbies, the same work, this all becomes rooted in your identity. It's like conditioning your subconscious mind over time to tell you who you are, right? So if I'm a guy that smokes weed every day, that kind of eats fast food whenever I want to, but I am in good shape, then this all becomes intertwined with my identity. And I can't outgrow the cap that my identity has on it, right? What's causing this cap? My inability to drop the vices, smoking weed, negative self-talk, telling myself that I need it. Well, yeah, like I'm fine. Like I can smoke weed. It's not that bad, right? Until I can install new evidence of action, this identity will always keep me capped. Self-talk that says, I don't smoke weed, I don't need it, I operate better without weed. That's the old version of me talking. With that voice that says, oh, you need to smoke right now, that's the old version of me talking. Until I can repeatedly install that day in and day out to get an accumulation of evidence, I won't be able to replace that identity. If we look at this from just like a plain perspective, you have a fat person. The outward depiction is that they're fat. That's the obvious part. But what is the other side of that mirror? The other side of the reflection? Lack of discipline, lack of self-respect, lack of self-control, likely eating and associating food with pleasure, and no consistency, especially with exercise, right? Obviously they're fat, but what is causing that? What is going on in their mind that's causing this physical reflection of being a fat fuck, right? You take a fit guy, right? For me, for example, I have a six-pack, all veined up, bench 350, whatever. The outward depiction is fit, but what is the reflection, the other side of the reflection in the mirror? Discipline, self-respect, self-control, consistency with my habits, looking at food as fuel, right? And so it's almost like this mirror is just revealing the root cause. I'm hoping that this is making sense, because in order for you to truly transform physically, you need to be uprooted and make a new foundation mentally. Because if you try to build a fucking C-bum physique or a fucking DK Metcalf physique, if you're more of an athlete, on top of a shitty mental foundation, you're building a house on top of sand. And when stress and storm strikes, it will crumble. However, if you go back, you uproot your bad habits, you uproot your vices, you uproot negative self-talk, and then you rebuild on top of a solid foundation, that is how you get lasting results. I know, because I've been there. I had to uproot smoking weed. I had to uproot getting conquered by lust. I had to uproot scrolling and wasting my time. I had to uproot negative self-talk and like a depressed state of mind in order to fully flourish physically. And not just physically, but in all aspects of my life. Being more consistent, being more mentally clear, being more dialed with my work, having healthier relationships. It all stems from the mind. The mind is not a camera recording life. It is a projector in which determines your entire reality. I'm super passionate about this stuff because you go on Instagram, you can find 1,000 fitness trainers. I could help you put on 20 pounds of muscle, or I help busy professionals lose 10 pounds of fat, or DM me this and I'll. But brother, it's like you could do all the curls and shit, but as soon as that trainer's gone, the accountability's gone, all these people revert right back. Why? Because the real fucking mental work was not done. The real inner makings and the gears and the mechanisms weren't adjusted such that these changes are permanent because now it's rooted in your identity. No, the identity stayed the same. It's just you threw bullshit on top of it, and then when stress and strife comes, it all crumbles. I talk about this in some of my other videos. So how do we actually incorporate a new identity? You really need to get granular. It's easy to say, I want a six-pack. I want ab veins. I want to bench 315. I want this, that, boom. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty vague though. And if you have a fucking vague wish, God or the universe will give you a vague outcome. So let's get granular. That ideal version of yourself, what time do they wake up? When do they go to sleep? What do they eat? How do they talk to themselves? What habits did they lose and leave behind? What habits did they take on and embody to grow, right? You have to ask yourself all these questions because we need to know in detail where we're heading. I'm pretty sure Einstein said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes defining it. This is why we need to get granular. If we don't know exactly where we're going, then we don't know exactly how to get there and we won't arrive. We'll just end up somewhere. And I don't know about you, I'm trying to hit the fucking bullseye. I don't want to hit like the white circle around it, whatever. I don't throw darts. So once you have this ideal version of yourself, we can now begin to reverse engineer the process. Okay, so for me to become the version of myself that has a six-pack, I'll probably be waking up early. Yeah, I'll be waking up early. I'd be doing my morning cardio, so that means I would have to be at 5 a.m. And if I had a six-pack, that means like I would have to say no to fast food. And if I have a six-pack, that means I would have to eat animal-based. And if I have a six-pack, that means that my mental self-talk is strong because I'm going to have cravings. And so I probably need to feed my mind. And that version of me is definitely reading. Yeah, they're definitely mentally stronger. And they're probably more at peace with dealing with hunger and craving. So they're probably meditating. See how it keeps unwinding, and you can develop these operating standards, which will take you swiftly to your goal when executed upon consistently. But the same way you have operating standards is the same way you need to uproot bullshit bad habits. Well, if I have a six-pack, I'm definitely not eating fast food. And if I have a six-pack, I'm definitely not drinking every weekend. And if I have a six-pack, I'm definitely getting good rest, because when you sleep, that's when your body's able to do all these repair mechanisms and your metabolism is able to get in check, etc. And if I have a six-pack, then it just keeps going. I'm definitely not giving in to lust, because if I have a six-pack, I have to have strong temptation control. And if I have one leakage of temptation control, then that means I'm going to leak in other areas of my life, and I have to be on point. You see what I'm saying? You develop operating standards, and you develop a list of habits that need to be uprooted. Every character arc follows the same path, the same transformation. Batman begins, he has to take on a whole new training, learn a whole new thing to have a new identity. In the Matrix, Neo has to unplug from the Matrix, unplug from his old identity in order to build and become newer, more powerful and stronger. In Karate Kid, Daniel's son's fucking like, why the fuck am I doing this wax on, wax off, these mundane things over and over again in order to really, truly realize the power? You have to go through a reset, a transformation. You have to go through these mundane tasks. Okay, another day of eating animal-based. Okay, another day of morning cardio. Boom, boom, until it finally realizes itself and manifests itself into reality. All of this to say that none of this is possible physically without the mentality and the mindset. It starts in the mind. The mind is not a camera capturing life, it is the projector. When you see a fat fuck, you know that their mental mirror, no discipline, laziness, self-respect, etc. When you see someone that's really fit, you know that their mental mirror is definitely the opposite. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, you look at your body, the outward depiction of your mentality, are you satisfied with it? And if not, why? Because you know why. And when you look at your reflection, what are your weak points? Are you a little soft around the edges because you're not fully dialed mentally? What other areas of your life are you not fully dialed? You have to answer these questions and be brutally honest with yourself. The biggest transformation, the biggest positive change I was able to experience in my life was from dialing in my mentality, dialing in my mindset, uprooting all these bad weeds that I used to have seeded in my mind from a young age, and relaying a solid foundation in which my physique could stand on, in which other areas of my life could stand on, my work, my relationships. It starts in the mind. That's all I got for you guys today. I really hope you take some time to jot down the ideal version of yourself, work out your operating standards, work out habits you need to, remove. And if you do this and you're diligent with it and you keep this operating standard somewhere you can see it on your desk, on a whiteboard, on your lock screen, you will transform and you will make progress. Remember, your new identity is just repeated evidence of action. The more votes you can cast for your new self and the less votes you cast for your old self. For example, I didn't eat a cheat meal, voted for my new self. I trained when I didn't feel like it, voted for my new self. I slipped back into my vice, that's my old self. The more votes we can accumulate for the new self, the quicker your identity shift can occur. That's all I got for you fellas tonight. If you don't, or if you haven't yet, check out my Instagram. I'm documenting pretty much my entire fucking day-to-day life and providing as much value as I can because I want to help as many people as possible with this journey. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you took something away from this of value. Peace, love, prosperity. Like and subscribe type shit. Catch you on the next one.